Here's Brody Brazil.
I'm not going to enjoy making this video at all. I'm going to hate myself for publishing it. There is nothing I like about this discussion. In fact, I don't even want to see this on the screen right now. I've enjoyed Sean Murphy. I'm not best friends with him, but every interaction I've ever had, great guy, great teammate from what it appears. I like the way he plays. I've tried to give him the ultimate compliment possible, calling him Terry Steinbach 2.0. I loved Steiny back in the day. One of the great A's backstops obviously got him to the World Series title in 1989. And I see a lot of similarities in the way that Sean Murphy plays and operates. I don't think you're going to see this, Sean, but I hate doing this, right? Because I'm not responding to a trade. I'm responding to speculation. I hate that, but so many people are talking about it. And actually, the way that I'm phrasing this video is the most important part. Is Sean Murphy eventually going to get traded by the Oakland A's? Yeah, probably. Like, he came in a past era, like the Chapman, Olsen, Melvin era, and he came in a little bit late to that, right? The end of 2019 is when he debuted. So he kind of just missed out on fully being with that group and being with them to thrive. Now, unfortunately, the A's are turning the tables. They're moving on, and they're probably eventually going to move on from Sean Murphy. So I'm wondering, though, do you trade Sean Murphy now? If it was just trade Sean Murphy, like ultimately I could just end the video here and say, yes, he will ultimately be traded. But now, this offseason of 22 into 23, is kind of the big question. Oh, I really don't like doing this video. I'm sorry, Sean. Okay, let's get into Murph season by season. 2019 got called up at the very end. It was a really good year for the A's, 97 wins. He only plays in the final 20 games, but he ultimately starts in that one playoff game at home against Tampa. So clearly he came in, he was the guy. There was a lot of hype around him. They instantly knew that he was very green, but that he would be the next thing. So a good, good establishing moment for Murph to come in at the end of the year, catch some eyeballs and set a base of who he would become. 2020, very difficult season for everybody. 60 games in 66 days. I think that's what it was. He played 43 of those 60 in the pandemic season, and he was noticed. I mean, technically this was his rookie season, not 2019, didn't play enough games, but finished fourth for Rookie of the Year voting in 2020. Hard to evaluate anything in that season, quite honestly. Any player, any team. I'm almost throwing that one out the window, but I also want to show you here season by season to understand that 2019 was not a full season by any means. 2020 was definitely not normal. So 2021 was the first real big league season for Murph. And even then, he only played in 119 games as opposed to the 148 he just played in this past season. 2021, let's get to that. Higher workload. A team kind of unraveled in August. Remember the Chris Bassett injury, the comebacker in Chicago, and so many other things. That series in Toronto where the Jays made 3 comebacks, I believe swept Oakland. Really rough 2021 for the entire group. And even for Murph offensively, hit low in the order, hit 216 for average, but was recognized with an American League Gold Glove Award at the catching position. So, again, not a bad season entirely for Sean Murphy, but maybe that a little sophomore dip, right? The sophomore slump that a lot of people talk about. Even still, you can see the trajectory of where this is going. 2022, Murph had a really good April. It was, I believe, May and into June where he struggled. And then all of a sudden in July, which we'll document later on, hit almost 300, and then he hit 330, I want to say. Was it August into September? We'll get to that later on. But this past season, he is still a Gold Glove finalist, doesn't get the award, but plays in a bunch of games, hits 250. That's his best average so far in the big leagues. And quite honestly, the A's asked so much of him in 2022. Sean Murphy had so many more roles this past season than he did before. Hey, our big guys, Chapman and Olsen, they're gone. We're going to need you to be a leader. So he does that. We're going to need you to hit second, third, and fourth in the lineup. A lot of times cleanup. We need you to be our cleanup hitter all of a sudden. So we know you've hit, fifth, sixth, seventh, eighth. Now you need to move into this prime spot, which, of course, he would love that opportunity. But again, these are a lot of things you're asking of one person. Not only that, right? We've talked about his average, his hitting. How about defense, navigating a starting rotation, navigating a bullpen? These two areas were not the A's biggest faults in 2022. Their team offense was difficult, right? The lack of runs scoring for Oakland, it hurt their team in wins and losses. It hurt their pitchers. In giving them no run support, they felt they had to do everything. I'm here to say that whatever the A's arms accomplished in 2022, give Sean Murphy some credit for that. The pitchers will tell you they love working a game with him, so as much as stats will tell you, there's a lot that they can't display here that was asked of Sean Murphy in 2022 to be the A's catcher. The highlights of this past season, again, to play that many games, to be so durable, there it is, the .299 average in July and the .330 average in August. It just goes to show you how he rebounded from hitting, I want to say like 158 in May. Good start, real bad slump, then he bounced back. And a player who hit every spot in the batting order except leadoff this past year, right? So he had to do almost all of it this past year. And I already mentioned he was a Gold Glove finalist, so it's good that beyond the average, beyond the offense, those who watch the game closely are seeing that he is an important part of a baseball team defensively, calling a game, but also as a really good defensive catcher. So we're establishing where he's been, the season he's had. How about looking forward for Murph? The contract status goes like this. 2023 will be the first year he's arbitration eligible. So how will this all land? What type of contract, what type of dollar amount will he make? Certainly has played his way into a lucrative opportunity. Should far exceed $750,000 from last year, something like that. It's the league minimum. Should far exceed that in his first arbitration-eligible season. It's also important to let you know that he's not a free agent until 2026. Now, that means there's a lot of time here for team control. Going back to the topic of this video, should the A's really feel urgent to trade Sean Murphy? Is there something pressing and pushing him out the door? I'll talk about the pipeline of catchers in just a second, but what's the rush here and now? Unless somebody presents you with a really good deal that you cannot refuse, like 23, 24, 25, you could hang on to him. We're talking a couple years down the road here. He's not a free agent until 26. What's the rush if you don't have to do this? And that's kind of what honestly surprises me a bit as I've seen this conversation heat up. I know winter meetings are going to be a lot of Sean Murphy trade talks. He's highly visible, like even on a team that lost 102 games last year, he's in demand for a lot of teams. I get it, but if you're the A's, what's the real motivation to do this now? I'll go back to the pipeline. It is loaded. There's no question about that. Shea Langoliers, and these are all catchers. Shea Langoliers came up this year, made his big league debut after hitting a ton of homers down in Las Vegas. Highly anticipated. I think with Langoliers, we saw the bat kind of go in streaks and spurts. It is clear to me, too, that he's going to be a really good defensive catcher in Major League Baseball. But, you know, for Langoliers, just getting to the big leagues, that's what his past season was all about. Then you have 2 first-round draft picks in Tyler Soderstrom, who last year started in Single A, went to Double A, and ultimately finished in Triple A. So the trajectory there for the California native, quick, fast, a lot of promotions. It'll be interesting to see, what he does in the 2023 season. Triple A the entire year, maybe start in Double A, get called up to Triple A. I don't know how it goes, but a quick escalation, right, up the minor league ranks in the Oakland system. So he was a first-rounder. Daniel Susac was the 2022 first-round draft pick for the A's. So his last year looked like getting drafted by Oakland. Of course, he's also a Northern California native, and he ultimately played 25 games in Stockton. So will he finish next year, the end of it, in Double A, Triple A? That would be quick. But you understand here, going back to the Murph situation, there are a lot of players in the pipeline that the A's are excited about at the catching position. And by the way, there's other names than just this. I've only included these 3 because they're the most talked about, the most hyped. But I wouldn't be surprised if another name also emerged as a candidate for a catcher. So the A's have some options coming up. But again, going back to the Murph part, you're still good for here and now, and these players are emerging. And you know this is around the corner, and this is what tells me that Sean ultimately is going to move on. But what's the timing and what's the process here? So let's summarize all of this with this. If this happens for the A's, immediately it's going to be a big absence. And that is no knock to Shea Langoliers. Shea, this is not, no offense. Like, Murph has come in, Murph has done a lot of things, and Shea probably will too. He just has not done them yet. Right? So Murph is proven at doing this. He's got the track record. Shea Langoliers will get there. That's the only reason why I'm saying big absence. Maybe it can be filled, right? Maybe it's the opportunity to be filled. But if you're the A's and you do this, you need a big return. Like, there's no question about this. You need to, how do I say this? You need to fleece a team. Like, you need to get something back in return that is jaw-dropping, that's like, okay, we know where this is headed, and this was a haul. You need a haul in return for Sean Murphy here and now. Because Murph's trajectory, like I should have said this before, I am positive we have not seen the best of him yet. Like, you wouldn't sell your house if you didn't need to and you saw the market was rising and it's going up, 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 up. Why do it here today when you've seen just a bit of the uptick? Let's let it marinate for a bit. Sean Murphy's value, to me, only going to increase for himself and for whatever team he's on, and trade opportunity only going to increase throughout the course of 2023 and beyond. So that brings me to the final question here. Would a deadline deal in 23, like after he's shown you even more next year, would that bring back more than whatever kind of trade the A's could make in the offseason here of 22 into 23? Should you let this ride a little bit? Maybe the A's are entertaining talks. Maybe the name's out there because they're just kind of stirring the pot. They don't intend to do anything, but they just want to see what's out there. But it is my question here and now, could you get more if you wait on this? And I hate this. I hate that. I don't want to see that. Get that off the screen. I've really enjoyed Murph. Murph reminds me of that last group. And but I also want to see the best for Sean Murphy. And if it means that in a year or two, as the A's are still upward trending, hopefully building towards a lot of things, like literally building towards a new ballpark, building your new team. If it means that Sean Murphy can jumpstart right into being in the playoffs again next year or 2 years, then I wish him the best, and I wish that for him. But I obviously hope that the A's can get the most out of this situation. So, trade Sean Murphy? Yeah, probably eventually. But trade Sean Murphy now? Not completely sold on it.